Gan Shalom Akim, when you give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash, the bonds to the other apostles of Great Millstone, teaching real well, and Shalom to the sincere Akim's punish truth and sincerity. Shalom. In this video, I want to go into the topic of the Spartans, and I want to show you that the Spartans, were actually Israelites, who had a very dark skin complexion. They were so-called Negroes. So the people that you see in the movie 300, which they portrayed to be so-called white people, were in fact, so-called Negroes, who were of the stock of Abraham, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, So this is First Maccabees, chapter 12, and verse 5. And in this chapter, you're going to find out that Jonathan, the high priest, that was priest over our city-state that we had back then, he was trying to renew the league and the friendship, with the Romans. We're also going to find out that he tried to establish that league and friendship with the Lacedaemonians as well, which the Lacedaemonians are Spartans. So this is First Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 5, and this is the copy of the letters which Jonathan wrote to the Lacedaemonians. Jonathan the high priest and the elders of the nation and the priestess and the other people of the Jews unto the Lacedaemonians their brethren send greetings. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go into the Lacedaemonians itself, which if we go to the Wikipedia, we're going to find out that the region of Lacedaemon, was, let me just read it, man. This is a little bit of information concerning Sparta and the history concerning the name as well. So Sparta was a prominent city-state in Laconia in ancient Greece. In antiquity, the city-state was known as Lacedaemon, while the name Sparta referred to its main settlement on the banks of the Eurotas River in Laconia in southeastern Peloponnese around 650 BCE. It rose to become the dominant military land power in ancient Greece. You see, so the city-state of Sparta, as being referred to as, for instance, in the movie the 300 Spartans, back in the days prior to that, it was being referred to as Lacedaemon, which if you are an inhabitant, well, if you live in the region of Lacedaemon, that makes you a Lacedaemonian, an inhabitor of the region of Lacedaemon, showing me that there's a connection between the Spartans and the Lacedaemonians. You see? So it says, First Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 6, Jonathan the high priest and the elders of the nation and the priestess and the other people of the Jews unto the Lacedaemonians their brethren send greetings. So here we find out that the Lacedaemonians and Jews, which in that time referred to Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the southern kingdom, because after the expulsion, of the northern kingdom out of the land of Israel, the majority of the people still living in Israel were Jews. So those that were from the tribe of Benjamin, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Salakia. According to the scriptures, also other tribes were still living there, but they were in a very, that was very, I say that. Those were the minority. You see, there were not as many of the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, Levi over there. So the Jews refer to the southern kingdom. This is Romans chapter 9 and verse 3. This is Apostle Paul speaking. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Yahawashi, from my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh. So here we see that Apostle Paul is referring to his brothers, his kinsmen according to the flesh, those that are basically from the same family as he is, being from the tribes of Israel. Verse 4, who are Israelites. So those brethren, those brothers, those kinsmen according to the flesh were Israelites, not spiritual, no according to the flesh, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of the Most High and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom as concerning the flesh Yahawashi came, who is over all, the Most High blessed forever. Amen. You see? So those brothers, that are being spoken about, in Romans, now you understand that that's speaking about Israelites. So we go back to First Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 6, where it says, Jonathan the high priest and the elders of the nation and the priestess and the other people of the Jews unto the Lacedaemonians their brethren and send greetings. Now we understand that when it refers to brethren, it means that the Lacedaemonians were also Israelites. You see? But I'm not done yet, because if we jump in First Maccabees the 12th chapter, if we jump to verse 19 on down, it says, and this is the copy of the letters which Omiara sent Arius, king of the Lacedaemonians, to Onias the high priest, greeting. It is found in writing that the Lacedaemonians and Jews are brethren, and that they are of the stock of Abraham. What does it mean to be of a stock of something? Let me look it up. This is in the FARDEX dictionary, and it says concerning point 7, it says the original progenitor of a family line, the descendants of a common ancestor, a family line, especially of a specified character. So when it says in verse 21, First Maccabees 12 and 21, it is found in writing that the Lacedaemonians and Jews are brethren, and that they are of the family line of Abraham. Ancestry or lineage, antecedents, a race, family, or other related group of animals or plants. You see, so they go back to the same, forefather. And if you read on in Romans chapter 9, it says, this is back in Romans chapter 9, verse 6, not as though the word of the Most High hath taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. You see, so you can be an Israelite, but if you're doing the ways of this kingdom that we're living in, you're not being regarded as an Israelite, even though your lineage does go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob according to your father's seed line. Doesn't mean that you are of the Israel the Most High. Doesn't mean that you're the ones that's going to be saved. That you're going to be the one that's going to come back, and do the will of the Heavenly Father. Verse 7, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Let me look up the word seed. Let me look up the word seed in the Blue Letter Bible. It says sperma. Outline biblical usage from which a plant germinates. The seed, for example, the grain or kernel, which contains within itself the germ of the future plants. Reading on, it says the semen and virile, the product of the semen, seed, children, offspring, progeny, family, tribe, posterity. See, so it is going into a lineage. You see. So reading back in Romans chapter 9 and 7, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. You see, because Abraham he also had Ishmael, but he also had children with Keturah. But even though he had all those children, here we're coming to find out, even in Genesis chapter 17 and a little bit later on, where the Most High says unto Abraham, take now thy son, thine only son. You see, referring to Isaac as his only son, showing that the Most High is not dealing with Ishmael or the other children of Keturah. You see, verse 7, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. So Isaac was the chosen one. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of the Most High. Ishmael was not, the chosen one, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed which goes into Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You see. So, First Maccabees chapter 12, verse 21. It is found in writing that the Lacedaemonians and Jews are brethren, which are both Israelites, that they are of the stock of Abraham, meaning they come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So the next thing that I want to do is, since we established that the Lacedaemonians were the Spartans, I want to show you how they were dark-skinned people, because it refers to Jews, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, being brethren unto the Lacedaemonians. We know that Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, were dark-skinned people. So what I want to do is I want to show you how, according to the scriptures, Judah had a very dark skin complexion. This is Jeremiah chapter 14 and verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are blackened to the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. Showing you that that they had a very dark skin complexion. Because in actuality, our people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, but also those were scattered among the heathen nations, um, that might look like the nations, but the lineage does go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob according to their father's seed line. Even when we were in our prior state, still looking like, all looking like so-called Negroes, even then we were not black. We had different shades of brown. But this scripture shows you that we had, a very dark skin complexion. You see. And we also know that according to the scriptures, that Yahawashi was from the tribe, of Judah. This is Hebrews chapter 7, verse 14. For it is evident that the Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. We know that this is referring to Yahawashi. We know that he sprang out of Judah, because the Messiah would come out of the loins, of David, King David, who himself was from the tribe of Judah as well. So this is Revelation chapter 1 and verse verse 13, and this is the description of whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his name is Yahawashi, was a dark-skinned man. This is Revelation chapter 1 and 13. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. So he had on a war garment, and he had a golden belt, to protect his vital parts. Verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were a flame of fire. So the depiction of Yahawashi is as following. He himself had white woolly hair. He had, how do you say that? Um, he basically had an afro. He had an afro, and the color of the afro was white. And same goes for his beard. The beard that he had on his face was white as well. And the color of his eyes were very dark red. Why? Because he was very grieved and had a lot of sorrow, for what was going on, with his people. He drank wine, was very sorrowful. Verse 15, and his feet like unto the fine brass, as if they burnt in a furnace, and his voice is the sound of many waters. So where it says, and his feet like unto fine brass, the color of brass is brown. What happens if you burn that in an oven? It becomes even darker, meaning that he had a very dark skin complexion, showing you that the people from the tribe of Judah are dark-skinned people, especially during this time, because during the time that Yahawashi was on the scene, we for the we were still how you say that, um, we were still more pure. We hadn't mingled ourselves, as the Judah, Benjamin, Levi, they hadn't mingled themselves too much, among these heathens. Because what happened after, 70 AD, we were kicked out of the land by the Most High, and we were dispersed among the four corners of the earth, and eventually, our people laid down with the heathen females, and we brought forth children with them, meaning that eventually we looked like all these heathen nations as well, But during the time that Yahawashi was on the scene, his I say that his depiction, is a great resemblance of what the people looked like, during that time, but also what the Spartans looked like, will also be referred to as the Lacedaemonians in the scriptures. See, so let me see if I covered everything that I wanted to cover. No, a couple of more things that I want to cover, which I have done. So I want to go to First Maccabees, chapter 12 again, and because it speaks about a couple of people, it does speak about a couple of people, which one of them I want to also pick out, show you that, this account, is not only written in the Bible, but also a little bit of information is known about him in history. So we know that according to First Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 20, it says, Arius, king of the Lacedaemonians, to Onias the high priest greeting. So this letter, which was the response, that they received from the king of the Lacedaemonians, his name was Arius, and if he's a king, and this was part of history, so this needs to be able to be traced back in history as well. So if we look up Arius, we're gonna come to find out that he indeed was a Spartan king. you know, of the Ageid dynasty. So this Arius the first, and it says Arius the first died 265 BC, was Ageid king of Sparta from 309 to 265 BC, who died in battle near Corinth during the Chremonidean War. He was the grandson of Cleomenes II and was succeeded by his son Arocatus II. I'm showing you that a little bit of information is known concerning this king, who was king of the Lacedaemonians, but also being referred to as the king of Sparta. You see, a little bit more information concerning him and his military success. But what I wanted to, what I found interesting is that also the account found in First Maccabees chapter 12, can be found, under his information as well. Letter to the Jewish high priest. In the book, in book 12 of his Antiquities of the Jews, Josephus Flavius brings a letter written by King Arius of the Lacedaemonians to the Jewish high priest, Onias, in the Judean capital Jerusalem. Arius, king of Lacedaemonians, to Onias sent a greeting. We have met with a certain writing whereby we have discovered that both the Jews and the Lacedaemonians are of one stock, the stock of Abraham, and are derived from the kindred of Abraham. It is but just therefore that you, who are our brethren, should send to us about any of your concerns as you please. We will also do the same thing and esteem your concerns as our own, and will look upon our concerns as a common with yours. Timotheus, who brings you this letter, will bring your answer back to us. This letter is four square, and his seal is an eagle with a dragon in his claws. You see? So even uh, this King Arius, you know, he can be found in history as well. There's not too much information on him. He's on a coin as well, but it shows you that the Bible, can go hand in hand with history. You know, and also showing you that the Lacedaemonians refers to the Israelites, um, and that the Spartans, you know, were in fact Israelites, which had a dark skin complexion. You know, so when you ever look back to the movie 300, you see these super white people. It was not them. It were the Israelites. So with that, I hope that this lesson was edifying. We give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, who teach you well. Shalom, to the sincere, Archeon, truth, and sincerity.